seems like there's like slightly more delay than usual, but I think it's fine once we get into the flow of conversation.
I never am aware of this delay. You know, I see you right now. We're live, bro.
Dude, I knew I set that up for you. That was Oh, that was great. That should be the intro, and let's just roll with that straight into conversation.
Yeah. We should stop the intro from me being like, you've gotta work for it. You've gotta envision the life that, like, it's like something like that.
Just swap that out with okay,
Like,
there's a delay.
I can see you right now. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I just thought of one other thing that is on our non-existent list that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Is the Facebook group.
The Facebook group got it grew by 33% one night this week.
Instantaneously grew by 33%.
It's shot up from 3 members to 4 members.
So the backstory is that, like, we talked about it, I think, like, once ever.
Yeah.
On, like, a very early episode, and then we just, like, nobody joined, nobody was listening, and then we kind of just never thought about it again. And then somebody was listening to old episodes and joined the group. So the group is alive and well, and maybe we should actually tell people about it now.
We should. Is it facebook.com/thoughtsfromspacerock?
Dude, I actually don't know.
Neither do I.
I don't know if we ever set a custom URL. Here, I can pull it up real quick.
I think we did set a custom URL.
I think so too. Or you could just type in Thoughts from Space Rock on Facebook. One sec.
No, it's not facebook.com/thoughtsfromspacerock. But it is facebook.com/groups/thoughtsfromspacerock.
That's right. Yeah, I could have told you that the /groups was in there, but I didn't know if we customized the end. Okay, yeah. So facebook.com/groups/thoughtsfromspacerock. There are currently 4 members in there, and soon to be 20,000 after this massive announcement.
Yeah, you know, all it would take is this just, you know, going viral to the first 1,000, and if those first 1,000 kind of just tell their mom, their dad, their friend, one friend from college, then that will become 3,000, which, you know, then the algorithms will pick up on it, and next thing you know, we're on CNN.
Yeah, if you buy in early too, there's still like a lot of upside.
Yeah, you really want to buy in early to these things, because if you buy in early, you know, even if it is a little bit stigmatized, if you get in to these things early, then you can make a lot of money, and, you know, a few years later it might, you know, really be higher up, and now these people that didn't buy in, they're, oh, what is that thing? Just speaking generally.
Yeah, I mean, like, in a hypothetical scenario, like, we could have been talking about it for all this time and nobody cared,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it hits all-time highs and everybody cares.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to give specific advice, so just generally, I think it's good to buy into things early before they cross their all-time highs of December 2017.
Yeah, if it's December 2017, then you should definitely wait 3 years and then text all your friends on December 16th.
Yeah, and it's not like we're talking about Bitcoin.
What's that?
It's it's the speculation, really.
Dude, that was so Bitcoin's at all-time highs.
Yep. It is.
Crazy.
Whew. Yeah. It ripped through.
Yeah, I'm like thinking about it so much right now. I'm so excited. It's
I'm
like
obsessed.
insane. It's just such a moment. Like, this is the moment we've been talking about since 2017, basically.
Yeah. We were just like, yeah, like, it's gonna happen. And now that it happened, I'm just like, fuck. What do I say now other than it's gonna happen, because it did happen?
Yeah. Now we have to, like,
damn,
set a new target: 50K, 100K, 400K.
Yeah.
Actual adoption outside of price. That's something I've been thinking about a lot. Like, definitely inspired by you. is just how in a time like this, I feel like it's so important that if you can explain it well at all, like to be able to be the person amongst your friends that can actually explain this thing, because everyone's just going to be focusing on price, and that's what makes it go crazy and that makes the price go up. And look, we're all going to get really rich through this as well, and that's great. But I think like the way for it not to spiral out of control is to really understand it. And you enlightened me on that and the importance of being somebody that can explain it to people. And when I explain it to people that like friends or friends of friends, like when you really explain it, it's hard to not have buy-in. But when you're just like, oh, it's this thing that goes up, it's like, yeah, whatever fucking crazy like Ponzi scheme bullshit you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, this is not XRP, people.
Though I do think a lot of morons are going to buy it. So I do have a bit of a position right now for the short term.
Oh my God, Matt.
Dude,
yeah,
I'm morons love XRP.
Dude, I am working with the crypto website. I want to find, because I can't like just show people my opinions. I can't just be like, oh, like this is bad. But what I think is very, very misleading about XRP is that the company that started it still holds like 50% of the supply. And I've talked to people that are into XRP, and what they'll say is like, no, but it's locked. It's like, yeah, for now.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also like, so something I'm going to show is the supply graph of XRP and also a list of every time this company dumped XRP on the market for US dollars for their own revenue.
Yeah, no, I would not hold it for more than like when things start to go crazy over the next couple months, likely. But I really think there's a lot of like short-term. It's just a trade. I'm only thinking about it as a trade.
I just don't believe in buying things that I think that other people are going to buy, but I secretly don't like. I just think that's such a waste of my trading and mental energy.
I feel you on that. This is the one time I'm just doing it because I feel so wildly confident about this. Because, like, I mean, we don't have to get into the details. Maybe you would want it, but off the pod or something. But, like, I just really think that there's, like, a setup for a very particular play that's not just XRP necessarily, but I'm pretty sure it's going to pay off. And I'm not. It's not like I put everything into it or whatever. It's just like my little like play around trade.
No, I feel that. Yeah. So, do we want to explain what Bitcoin is?
I feel like this would be with everything you're working on with the history of this podcast. Like this is the moment to go and just explain and really dive into it.
Yeah, it's good practice because every time I do it, I kind of just sort of wing it. I don't have a script that I go from. So, and it's continued learning for me too. So I would say that people don't realize how money is created. They think that money is just you do a job for someone and they give you money. But where did they get money? Well, somebody gave them that money. Well, where did that person get the money? And you end up just going through a maze until you get to the money printer. And how did that money printer make the money? And the answer is, it just did it. It just made the money. So what that means is that there are governments around the world, this is the way the money works, is that the governments print money. They print money when they want to print money. Averages out to 2% a year when COVID's not happening. And when they print money, people say, oh, it gets pumped through the economy, but it doesn't get, there is no pump. It's given to banks who then loan out that money to the population. So it's a loan. New money is a loan, and the US dollar is backed by debt. That was threw in some buzzwords there, but the core of that is that money is created out of thin air. And another way of thinking about that is power is created from thin air. You can create unlimited power because you want to, because it's in what you see as the best interest of the people. But in the end, you can do it. And what Bitcoin is it makes you pay to print money. It makes you pay in the form of electricity. This is what the Bitcoin miners are. They, without getting into the technology, they have to burn electricity. They have to provably spend electricity, which costs something, in order to mint Bitcoins, which means that Bitcoins are minted not for free, but for paying for it. They pay in electricity that is provably spent. What that also means is that, again, without getting too into it, there's this like, because the miners are outputting so much electricity every 10 minutes, for anybody to take control of the Bitcoin network, they would have to output a insane amount of electricity, which is not sustainable. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I can kind of shorten that up a bit, but it's for me, it comes down to the money printer.
I think we can like dive into it. I think we should. I feel like that the electricity part, like that's like a detail to dive into separately. But I feel like the core thing is that money, like dollars, they printed what, 7 trillion or something now, and in Bitcoin, there's only a finite amount, and it can't be faked. It can't be copied. It can't be like they can't just double the supply of Bitcoin. They can't just have 2% per year more Bitcoin be printed. It's a fixed thing. They're not all mined yet, but like they're still, what is it at, like 95%?
Maybe not quite 95, but I think it's between 90 and 95.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So once that, the total supply is going to be 21 million. So that means right now it's like 19, 18, 19, whatever. And that's all there is. So whereas with dollars, it's your value is being lowered every time the money is printed. And like you said, I think that's a super important point, is that it's not just that more money. It's not like they're just like, it's not just a water slide of more money and everyone's rich. It's really just saying like, there's now more, there's now more like dollar bills, but that just made your dollar bills be worth less. Like there's not actually more value. There's just more dollars, and it's not even more dollars. It's just more numbers on a screen. And then with numbers on a screen, people are like, oh, I don't trust numbers on a screen. That's why they're skeptical about Bitcoin. But if anything, dollars are more just numbers on a screen than Bitcoin, because at least Bitcoin are provable numbers.
People are like, Bitcoin is fake. It's like, show me what is in your bank account right now. And you're calling that real? Yeah. They're like, oh, well, it's backed by the military. It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, dude. No, the more I drill into that point, you realize that Bitcoin is far more real than dollars in your virtual bank account, because that's just numbers on a screen. Bitcoin's numbers on a screen, but it's actually something provable on the blockchain. Every computer in the entire network is like proving that too, and keeping the ledger of exactly who has what and what is where. That's something that the dollars, the USD, like the normal system, does just straight up not have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's like, I think once you really understand that mechanism at play, it goes like, oh, wow, this is like a insane, like earth-shattering discovery that you can't go back from it. Like once this exists and you can have like people that are independently making this thing work, you can't go back, because the interesting thing also, I think that we haven't really addressed yet, is you can't shut it down. You can't just, if a certain national government wanted to shut down Bitcoin, it couldn't do it, because Bitcoin is just run by electricity anywhere, and you can't shut down the electrical grid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably like the one, if there's truly like an apocalypse and there's no electricity, then like maybe Bitcoin would be worthless, but otherwise,
yeah.
Otherwise, it seems like the best hedge against like a future value. Like, of course, there's going to be future money in the future, right? Like, you think we're going to be doing this shit in another 100 years? Like, how can anyone be confident in that?
Yeah, dude. People saying like, oh, like, well, fuck Bitcoin. Like, that's not gonna do anything. Like US dollars are so strong. It's like, oh my god, like that sounds like you telling me that the US Postal Service is amazing and that email doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, like it, as you would say, it just is. It just seems obvious. It's so obvious. It's going to be so obvious looking back. The more you learn about it, the more hyped about it. I mean, there are literally nights where I'm just like thinking about it, and I just can't believe, like, dude, like, because like I'll be so bought in, but then there's moments when I'm like, no, like, what if this really is future money, and it's like everything, and this is what matters, and this is the future, and this is the only thing at some point.
And it's really exciting. It's so exciting because at this point, there's enough people watching that this thing can go from being, it used to be super fringe, then it was like tech fringe, then it was just regular fringe. And it's getting to a point where the world is watching this. And if it keeps growing, it's going to challenge these traditional currencies. Not necessarily beat them into oblivion, but it's going to be really relevant. And the more people that understand this thing, the more staying power it has. Because, I mean, if you look at the way we understand it, the way we're enthusiastic about it, it can feel kind of lonely because not that many other people understand it or know that way. But fast forward the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, probably especially in this cycle as the next wave of learning happens, our friends are going to be enthusiastic because they realize, oh, wow, this is about personal empowerment.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, and people become enthusiastic when they understand it. Like any friend I've explained it to, they're sold. Like I've literally had friends be like, "I'm buying some right now" and shit, and that's awesome to see. That also is like when people end up getting like what happened in 2017 is like everyone was just buying it but they didn't understand it.
Exactly.
And that ties in with like the first point is just like the education is so key right now. And it's like if you understand just the basic fundamentals of what this is, like make sure you explain that to people and not just buy it goes up, you know?
Exactly.
Because that shit, it is going to go up insanely. I really fundamentally believe that, and I'm excited as fuck. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I want to make money. I think that's cool, but I only am so bullish on it because I understand it roughly. I mean, I don't claim to have the deepest understanding of it, but like I at least can explain it to people.
Yeah, people are like, oh, so you're telling me that Bitcoin is just going to keep going up and up and up. It's like, you know, another way to say that would be that it's actually not going to keep going up, but these governments are just going to keep spending money, so it's going to make it seem like the price is going up and up and up.
Yeah.
It's like that's what causes the number to go up, because the creation of all these other currencies is outpacing the creation of Bitcoin by a mile. So where do we think it's going to go?
People talk about like, oh, like could Bitcoin go to 1 million? But like they don't necessarily think about that part of the equation of it going to 1 million is that the million is not worth 1 million anymore in terms of what you think of 1 million to be. Right?
Yeah.
So in the future, it's just going to, like, my favorite line is like, in 10 years, 1 Bitcoin is going to be worth 1 Bitcoin. Because that could just be like the standard in a way. Like why bother converting back to something that becomes more obsolete? I don't think the dollar is going to like go away in 10 years or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's clearly being devalued. I mean, we saw like the craziest devaluation event of history in this year.
They're going to have to back it by something. Again.
Back the dollar?
I mean, I'm really not an expert on all of that stuff, but it just seems to me that because of cryptocurrency, they're going to have to back the dollar by something. Because if we knew that the dollar is going to be worth, whether it's point whatever Bitcoin or like some Bitcoin, some gold, like kind of like a basket of different assets, like it has value. But I don't know, I think that the days of being able to just print money on command are coming to an end.
Because there's options. Like now there's options.
Yeah.
Right? Like if 30 years ago, what options did you have? You could buy gold. You could even stocks, dude. Stocks are just numbers on a screen too. Like you don't literally own a share of that company. I mean, maybe you technically do through some like weird contract on some stupid like old school TD Ameritrade website or whatever. Like you like legally
taking
you own it,
shots
but
at
like you
TD
don't actually
Ameritrade.
own shit. Yeah, I like TD Ameritrade. I just mean like that shit's not real either. Like everyone's like, oh well, Bitcoin's not real. It's like, dude, your stocks and your dollars in your bank account are arguably less real than this. And people are like, oh well, I don't understand Bitcoin. It's like, dude, you don't understand dollars either at all. Like if anything, like that system that you're explaining, I can't explain that. That should be my next step, is
I
like
think-
to really understand the dollar, because nobody does.
Bro, oh my God. There's a quote by Henry Ford that is like, it's crazy. Let me.
Yeah, pull it up.
It is well enough that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there will be a revolution by tomorrow morning.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah,
Bitcoin is that. And the good thing about Bitcoin is that it's a peaceful revolution. It's a revolution that is not going to be violent. Just it's like genius.
Dude, it's one of the coolest things going on in the entire world. Like it's just like this thing was just put up there into the internet, and it's unstoppable. It's nobody owns it, and it's this crazy force of nature. And it is a revolution to everything else. It's like, hey, here's just a completely other way of doing this thing, and we're just going to throw this out into the wild and go crazy.
Yeah. And I also don't claim that Bitcoin is perfect, and I don't claim that Bitcoin is like divine, like what, like you can definitely like go like really far in that direction, but
Yeah.
It's the best thing that the world has right now, I think, in terms of money with a fixed supply. And you might think like, well, isn't it just MySpace, and then there's going to be another one that comes out that's better? And I think that comes from like a false assumption that this kind of thing is going to be the same as most technology, when in reality, this is not technology. It's a new form of governance. And there's something special about Bitcoin being the first one. Bitcoin did not use blockchain technology in order to build Bitcoin. Bitcoin invented blockchain technology. It's the first one. There's only 21 million ever. So, whether another one comes out that has better monetary properties, it's probably going to happen, I would say. But what's
you could
interesting,
argue it's already happened.
Yeah, but like what's interesting about Bitcoin is that this community has said, okay, what's going to make us unique is not trying to make it the fastest cryptocurrency. It's not trying to make it the one with the biggest marketing budget. What's going to make Bitcoin unique is making the cryptocurrency that never changes. There are some changes and upgrades that are constantly happening to Bitcoin, but what makes it unique is how conservative they are in pushing those updates and how secure the system is to being updated. So I think that for that reason, it's going to be hard for somebody to compete with, this is just pure money that is not censored, that is just like very free, and people will compete on other aspects, and like, but I feel that Bitcoin will hold its value just because there's such a large community of people that want it.
Yeah, and that's an important piece. It has the best story. It has the best brand. It's just the iconic. It's clearly the number one and will be for at least the next few years. I mean, I agree with you too, though. It's like this was my main skepticism even like 2 years back. It's like, I believe in this technology, but like, how do I know that another one won't just knock it out of its place? But it just is the authority, and the power of it is the community. The power of it is the fact that it's the most owned one, and it has the biggest. It's a network effect, right? It's like, that's like saying like, oh, this little shitty app is way better than Airbnb. Yeah, but Airbnb has all the listings and all the people using it. Like, it doesn't matter if nobody's using it. Like, Airbnb is the best app because it's the best one for you to find what you're doing or whatever. Like maybe that's a little bit of a different example, but
Those are the network effects. That's
yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
And also, it's like we do buy things that are not Bitcoin. Like I see more like financial short term upside in, Ethereum, whatever else. So it's yeah, like I mean, I think if you're like an enthusiast at all, you're probably not going to hold just 100% Bitcoin only.
Yep.
Most people, most enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me? I feel like that's one of the next rabbit holes I need to go down is just understanding Ethereum. Like, can
Yeah.
maybe you don't have like a great speech ready for that one, but like I would love to hear like the case for Ethereum from you.
Yeah. So, if you think of Bitcoin, I'll try my best. So, if you think of Bitcoin as money that that doesn't go down, it's not censorable, it's just out there and it's running. What Ethereum does is it says, well, maybe there's some things other than money that we want to be sustainable in this same way, where it's not just a program running on one machine that might, I don't know, get dropped out of your bag and fall in the street and crap. Like, you don't want a program to have one point of failure. So what Ethereum is people call it the world computer. So there's tons of computers all around the world that are part of the Ethereum network. And when you have a program running on Ethereum, then it's going to run. It's running on this world computer, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of computers that are running this software. So it's uncensorable, and also it uses the same mechanism as Bitcoin for money. So there's also there's the Ethereum token, the ETH token that runs the network, which means that in order to run a program on Ethereum, you have to pay for computing power with ETH.
Okay, so that is the answer to like one of the questions I've been thinking about is just like I understand that things can be built on the Ethereum platform, and I understand that that is immensely valuable, but the missing piece that I haven't quite understood is like, okay, yeah, that's great that you can build things on Ethereum, but how does that make the Ethereum token valuable? So I guess the idea is like there's only so much computing power on it such that like bigger and bigger companies would spend more and more for that computing power, which drives up the price of individual tokens. Is that kind of like the idea behind the token being highly valuable?
Yeah, the idea is that I'm not as well versed on this as I am on Bitcoin, but the idea of Ethereum is that, for example, if I were to send you Ethereum, there would be a fee to pay to the miners who are running the network, and I have to pay that in Ethereum, which means I have to have Ethereum.
Is Bitcoin not like that? I thought there's a fee.
Bitcoin's also like that. Yeah, it's just the same
Right.
mechanism. So for example, like something that's I don't think I'm gonna do a great job, but like Ethereum also allows you to create like financial applications. So, and like you can like lock your money.
DeFi.
So yeah, like on Ethereum you could say like, all right, there's this contract where my Ethereum is locked indefinitely for the next 12 months, and in exchange this Ethereum wallet is going to give me 10,000 USD stablecoin, and then I'll have to pay it back in this much per month, and that's the contract. I don't know, as I'm explaining it, I'm just like I could probably understand this way better. So that's all I got.
No, that's still helpful. I mean, it's more than I know. So, and you sound like a genius to anyone else listening. So you definitely understand this stuff. But
Yeah.
shit, I had a question about that. Oh, like, do you do any of that stuff, like lending, DeFi? Like, are there anything in that realm that like has piqued your attention enough to actually do it?
I don't, and the reason why is I think there's this fucked up risk that a lot of these protocols are untested, and if there is a bug in the protocol, then you might lose all your money. And because it's not controlled by a centralized company, then it's not insured. Like if one of these protocols gets hacked and drained, then there's a really good chance that you're going to lose your money. So it's like people are like, oh, well, I'm getting 10% a year. It's like, no, you're not getting 10% a year. You're getting 10% a year, and then maybe minus 100% one random year.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's like, I mean, obviously the reason you're getting such high returns is because there is other risk involved. Like, yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. And also, like, I would just rather do leverage plays like we've been doing on VMAX.
Yeah, I mean, that's like my main play too. Not just that, but like those leverage tokens on Binance. I mean, that's like what I'm really sort of taking a bigger bet on with those. BTC up, ETH up, if people are curious. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I'm like, that's my big bet. It's like, dude, if this plays out right, if this plays out the way that we think it is, like I'm taking a fairly large risk for me based on that. I think that's going to play out. You know, like I'm definitely doing like the leverage things where it would go down faster, stuff like that.
Let me ask you this. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I'll ask you what I asked him, and I won't tell you what he said. I'll tell you after. But what do you think that the percentage chance that Bitcoin hits 100K within the next 12 months is? Let me preface it. Not financial advice.
Yeah. Give me like, there's going to be like a brief pause while I think about this, because I don't want to just throw out like the first answer. So percent chance that it will be over 100K sometime in the next 12 months?
Yeah.
I would say like, and this is just what I think, obviously, but I would put it at 60%.
Yeah. The number I was thinking of is 80%.
Nice. Yeah, similar in a way. Yeah. You know, I mean, like here's a different way of putting it, is like I would not be remotely surprised if it hits 100K in the next even 6 months. Like I wouldn't even be surprised.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if it hits 200 or even 300 this cycle, given how many companies are starting to enter.
Yeah, dude, that is the craziest part that I've been really thinking about, like since the MicroStrategy thing. His name is like Michael Saylor. Yeah, that dude sounds crazy interesting, by the way. I was just hearing about him on another podcast. I'm like, whoa, I need to listen to some interviews of him, because apparently he's been right on other things, and he's just like a crazy, you know, he's one of those guys. Like he was super early on, like, you know, early internet stuff too. Like bought a bunch of like 4-letter word domains, or like he's just always early, you know, like this guy knows what's up. He sounded interesting. But yeah, like they put in like 500 million or whatever into Bitcoin, and that I think is maybe the most bullish like argument for Bitcoin is not even like retail investors, but when if companies start getting afraid that they're not getting their piece, that's wild. Like the amount of Bitcoin that MicroStrategy bought, I think it was 18,000 Bitcoin. And if companies wanted to buy 18,000 Bitcoin, I think it was, the math is like only 200, like 200 times 18,000 is all the Bitcoin that there is.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So as soon as some companies start moving like $1 billion of cash reserves, like, dude, if Apple keeps like, they talk about this, it's like hundreds of billions in cash, right? Crazy numbers. Like, dude, they could be like, we're putting 10 billion into Bitcoin, and then Amazon's gonna be like, oh fuck, and then
yeah,
dude, if that happens, that would be the case for $1 million Bitcoin.
I mean, I think it's already
cycle, dude.
I mean, again, Amazon and them, you know, it might not happen for a bit, but it's kind of happening. Like we say, if these companies start, but it started in the last like I think it's only 2 or 3 months. MicroStrategy has bought, and at this point they have, they'll be buying over $1 billion of Bitcoin. There's like another buy that has not been announced as completed yet, but they'll have $1 billion. Square, Cash App, that company
Square.
put in 50 million just to start, but I'm sure they're gonna put in more. Mass Mutual
I'm curious about
Insurance
that.
put in 100 million.
I'm curious on that. I'm curious if you know this about Square though, because I'm thinking. Square owns Cash App, right? Or is that separate?
Square owns
Cash
Cash
App?
App.
Okay, so Cash App, they must have a bunch of Bitcoin just tied up in their own like that's separate from this, right? Like this is their company cash reserves that you're saying, not like their like. For example, if PayPal wants to offer Bitcoin, PayPal has to own a shitload of Bitcoin, right? Or they have to at least have...
They have to have access to liquidity, but it's not necessarily the same as owning it.
Good point. No, you're right, actually, as I think it through out loud. Yeah, I guess they don't really have to own it. But when you think of, like, exchanges, I would think they own it. Or not own it, but, like, they float it, at least.
They don't... Exchanges, like an exchange like Binance... I mean, they actually keep all of their cash in crypto, which is fucking dope. But
that's a great example. But
but they don't actually, like, when you buy Bitcoin on Binance, you're not buying it from Binance. You're buying it from somebody who's selling on Binance. It's an exchange, so they coordinate the exchange.
Right, but don't they have? Isn't it not entirely like that? Like, I get that an exchange could be like that, but don't most exchanges kind of like do that, but like, quote, on paper? Like, they're not literally, like, you're not literally buying it from another person. They're just like, they are floating like a massive amount, right?
Yeah, so they own it in the same way that your bank owns your money. Like, not really, but sort of.
Exactly. Right, they're holding on to a massive pool. I guess that's what I was trying to say is like, so the 50 million for Square, for example, that's them putting their cash reserves in.
Exactly.
That's nothing related to, like, they probably have a lot more than that in terms of, like, you know, customer Bitcoin and stuff or whatever. But no, I agree with you that it's starting to happen, but I don't mean this in like it's definitely not pessimistic because I'm super bullish on it, but I think that wouldn't happen. I can't see there being true like company FOMO for a while because there's still a lot of really like old execs that just like are not even thinking about stuff like this. And yeah, you know, maybe Apple or something will do it, but there are a lot of companies out there worth a lot of money. I mean, dude, like I don't even know how you would estimate, but there's so many massive companies, right? And like, I don't see them coming. Like, I can't imagine 90% of them putting cash reserves into Bitcoin in the next few months.
That's not the right question to ask. 90%. Can you imagine 10% of them putting in?
Yeah, like, well, that's what I mean is like, would it be like the true FOMO moment until they're all wanting to get in? That's what I'm saying. Is like, I see the first pieces moving. There will be more companies that buy it, but I don't know if like, I feel like we're not that close to company level FOMO. Right, like
companies don't really get FOMO in the same way that retail traders get FOMO.
But they will, but I think they could if they, because dude, the same thing that we explained earlier about cash being devalued. Imagine you're Apple and you're sitting on $300 billion in cash, and you hear that the government just printed 7 trillion or whatever.
Yeah, you know, they're either going to be like, we should fucking buy Bitcoin, or they'll be like, we have $300 billion in cash. Fuck it.
Yeah, but it's still like, I mean, if I think that it's kind of neglectful for them to not be considering stuff like that.
Yeah.
It'll
happen in its time. I think that this bull run, there might be a rush of companies. I would not be surprised at all if there's a rush of companies buying Bitcoin. You know, I think it's going to start not with Apple and Amazon and Facebook all getting in on the same Thursday, but with the smaller companies, MicroStrategy, Mass Mutual, Square, Cash App, maybe even Twitter will start to do it because Jack, the CEO, is really bullish. Binance is not going to do it because they already keep all of their shit in crypto, but I think that more and more companies, it's just like, it's funny, humans are just what's like a polite word for sheep? like social creatures. So
Herd animals.
yeah, humans are herd animals. And what's happening now is that it's being seen as a lot more responsible to keep your money in Bitcoin. Whereas 3 years ago in 2017, if a company did that, they would be scorned. The CEO
That's true.
would be made fun of. And now if they do it, it's like, wow, this guy is wise. And the only thing that's changed is the narrative. And I think that people are less afraid of the herd opinion now, which is going to cause them to see what this thing actually is. And, oh, yeah, it's actually responsible to put 2%, 5%, 10% of our reserves into this thing.
Yeah, that was, and on the individual level, I was thinking about this just yesterday, is like how anyone can be somebody that is like has money, somebody that like is into online business, they're like investing in Tesla or startups or whatever. And it's like, if that person doesn't own at least a Bitcoin, like at least one, it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this might be a thing, right? I just can't believe that like some people are just so anti it. It's like, dude, like you're going to seem really silly if 20 years from now you never bought one and you were at a position where you could have easily bought one. I get it. Like not everyone can just spend $24,000 on a Bitcoin right now, but there are a lot of people that are more than in a position to do so that have still not. And that to me is crazy.
There's more millionaires in the world than, like, every millionaire is not going to be able to buy a Bitcoin.
Yeah. Dude, that stat was blowing my mind just last night. I didn't know that there are 700,000 wallets that have one or more Bitcoin. Only 700,000.
Oh, wow.
700,000 is 0.01% of the global population. So only 0.01% of the population has one or more Bitcoin.
Yeah. Which, like, it seems surprising. It's like so many people don't even have one, but it's just like a weird case where one actually is worth a lot.
Dude, having one Bitcoin is like going to be saying like you're a millionaire someday.
Yeah, they might even change the units to like people would recommend like call it sats or call it bits, like this thing that's like I think it's like 1,000th or 1 mil. I forget what it is, but it's like a small fraction of a Bitcoin.
I think it's the bits that I liked. I could be mixing it up, but bits would make it such that if Bitcoin was 1 million, then 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin would be a bit. So it's kind of like, it would be like a exact way of exchanging like Bitcoin to dollars in our minds, sort of. Like what if like 100 bits was like kind of what we think of as $100 someday?
Yeah, that seems likely. A lot of people that are like hardcore Bitcoiners are like, call it sats. It's called sats because of Satoshi, the founder. It's like, bro, like sats is not going to catch on. It's fucking a sats. Like Bitcoin has gotten this like once in a generation marketing opportunity where a lot of the world knows what Bitcoin is. Like, I think it's going to be also like sats. That just sounds weird. Like sitting down.
Also, it's not even about the sound. I forget the conversion, but sats is not like an easy conversion to Bitcoin, right? Like, for example, I think it's bits that I just described where it would be like 1 million is to 1, whereas like a sat is off by like 100 in one of the two directions. I don't know if it's smaller than that or bigger than that, but it's not the way you would want the math to work out, Like you don't want to think that you have to like you don't want it to be like 7 zeros off or some shit, like, or I don't know what that is. Oh, I guess, is 1 million?
I found it. Whatever. So while 1 sat is equal to 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, a bit is equal to 1 millionth of a Bitcoin. So yeah, it's
okay.
Bits are a lot more.
So it should be, in that case, sats are like cents, which I like. I think that's cool. Like something could be like 99 bits and 99 sats.
Yeah, let me see what 1 bit is equal to.
It kind of sounds like dollars and cents.
I'm sorry, I actually just missed that. I'm doing the math to see what 1 bit is equal to now. So 1 bit, 1 bit equals 2.4 cents.
Right, and so if Bitcoin was 1 million, 1 bit would be $1, and
Yeah.
there would be 100 sats in $1.
Even
It works
now,
out really nicely.
Yeah, and even now you can conceptualize what 1 bit. It's like a penny, sort of.
Yeah. I think this is the area that like I like you could do some education around this, because I really do think it should be like, you could, if people still want to keep sats, that's cool, but the sats are the cents and the bits are the dollars. I think that's like such a nice way of doing it. And right now the bits are kind of like cents, but in like sort of what you project this to be worth in the future, it would make more sense that there's like bits and sats, and like whether you use sats or not, that could just be like, that could make the people happy that just like want to keep that going.
Yeah.
But
One sat
bits is such a more easy way of, it's such a more easy way of thinking about it.
1 bit is 2.4 cents, and 1 sat is like 0.0024 cents. Like, who fucking wants to say that?
Right, and even even if Bitcoin is $1 million, that means 1 sat is only a penny. Who wants to go around like being like, oh, that'll be 3,000 pennies?
Yeah, man. Yeah, seems pretty clear cut to me.
Yeah, pro bits.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think that we're gonna launch I've been fucking saying this for so long, but I think that we're gonna launch the Bitcoin.guide beta site next week sometime.
Sweet. Yeah, I've been looking at the beta, and like it's definitely feeling like a more finished thing now than even compared to like recent times that I saw it. Like it just feels, it's great.
Yeah. So
Can people like look at the beta yet or not yet?
yeah.
If people wanted to
Yeah,
check it
no,
out.
I'm down for that. I mean, it's I'm not posting it in places that are gonna get more listeners or whatever than TFSR, but yeah, it's beta.bitcoin.guide.
Sweet. Catchy URL. Obviously the beta won't be there in the end. Bitcoin.guide.
Ooh, that's gonna look good in the browser.
It will. Yeah, the .guide thing is really cool. Yeah, dude, I just like I don't know if there's more to say on crypto right now, but it's basically all I can think about anyways.
Yeah, it's
just so exciting. Like, I
Yeah.
really think that this is such a moment, and it's wild to have like been aware enough such that like if this really does play out, it will be like really meaningful for us.
Dude, yeah, man, I'm happy. I remember when we were talking about it for the first time, and I remember when you got in for the first time, and now I'm so happy that you got in when you did. You know, we have.
Well, I had some already, but it was very little, and I was like not thinking about it actively.
Right.
But the first time I like really bought in more was definitely like talking with you, and then watching the last couple of years has been so interesting. So it's like, this is what we've been waiting for. And if it really plays out, like it will definitely be, it'll be wild. I mean, I know I'm doing my best risk. Like I wish I could have even more in, you know, I wish I had so much in, but I can say that what I have in is like as much as I can possibly like comfortably do right now.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and by
you
the
know what
way,
I mean?
when I forgot if I mentioned this, when I was talking to my friend, I said, what are the odds that Bitcoin's going to hit 100K next 12 months? He said 20%. And I was like, bro, like, we've been talking about this for so long. Like, do you understand the dynamics? He's like, I don't know. I think it's 20%. And like, I don't remember what, I think, honestly, I don't want to say a reason because I don't want to speak for him. But yeah, I don't, like, for me, like, seeing these cycles play out, it's like every bull market, it's surpassed the previous high by so much. And clearly it's a bull market. Clearly the sentiment has changed so dramatically, which we can tell just by looking anywhere and seeing people talking about this thing.
I think like the one fair like counter argument is like, look, like it would like, I just know how crazy this can be at this point, to the point where almost nothing would surprise me. Like maybe this bull run does not look exactly like prior ones. Like that's completely possible. Like as you'll actually expect this, right? Because as the market cap gets higher and higher and higher, it's going to be more stable. At some point, it's going to be much more stable than before and before that and before that, right? So like, dude, even right now, like the 2017 spike and crash was like 6 hours. This one's already been like a month practically, you know,
Well,
like it's such a, yeah.
we can't compare this to 2017 yet because what you're talking about is the end of the bull run.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is that like maybe this one just looks very different. Like maybe this one doesn't just look like for example, what if it's just a lot more stable of a climb this time versus like a very intense spike and then a very intense drop off? Like it might be like a longer, rounder curve that is still
It will be
wild.
Yeah.
It for sure. Like it, but more wild than like the S&P 500 or whatever, but much more stable than prior bull runs, just because now it's going to take much more money to move the market compared to 2017, compared to 2013, whatever. Like it's just now it takes a lot more to shift it.
Yeah, so if we look at the past bull runs on so the first time that it kind of surpassed the all-time high, it the all-time high of the previous bull run was $30, and then the all-time high of the next bull run was $1,000. So it like 30x'd.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time it happened, the all-time high had been 1,000, and then the next all-time high was 20,000. So it 20x'd
Right.
from the previous all-time high. So now the all-time high is 20,000. So even if we say maybe it'll 10x, then that puts
Right,
it at 200K.
200K.
If we say maybe it'll 5x, that puts it at 100K. You know, we'll see. There's no like price predictions are kind of bullshit. Like you never know.
That's the range I'm thinking. My price prediction is like 200 this year. But that said, like, what if it just takes so much longer? Like, what if it just goes from like 20 to 50 to 75, and then like 2 years from now, like I don't know, like maybe it's just a much more drawn out version of stuff we've seen in the past. Like it's possible.
Could happen. Yeah, I think that the pattern that you're describing is going to happen, but yeah, we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah,
I'm so pumped. Like, can't wait to be Bitcoin rich, cash poor.
Yeah, man. We'll see what happens. Like I think.
Well, here's like,
yeah,
maybe you don't even want to think this way, but like, what would you actually change in your life if
I made
if this shit
$100 million on Bitcoin.guide or something? Oh, okay. Well, that was.
Or well, it could be.
Yeah.
The method is almost irrelevant, but the question just popped in my head. You know, like what would you do if your crypto 20x'd? What would you do if Bitcoin.guide made 100 million? Like, what do you think you would change first? Or if any?
I don't think I would change that much, honestly. I would fly first class.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I really don't think that there's really that much that I would change. I know that's a really boring answer. Let me think. Let me try and think. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe I get a Tesla eventually.
Yeah, like
I would buy a fucking
like
big Ferris wheel and put it out of my home so that everybody that drives by knows, oh, that's Sam's home and he invested in Bitcoin early.
And your face is on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah,
spinning.
Exactly. I would put my last name up there just so that everybody knows that it's me.
Get a statue of yourself built.
Yeah, like
you'll donate to a local hospital so that it can have your name on it.
Yeah, man. Ooh, yeah. I just make sure everybody knows the name of me. Yeah, I don't know. What would you do?
Yeah, I don't think I'd do anything like unbelievable either. Like I would probably like, you know, I'd probably buy this house for the short term. Mainly just so I could like put off whatever thinking about what I want to do next or whatever. I just like, oh, like I'll just own that. And even if I move somewhere else, I'll just like rent it or Airbnb it or whatever. I'd definitely just like do that. Like, why not? because I would like think less with my money, I guess is what I mean. I'd be like, yeah, like why not just do that? Like it sounds nice, instead of being like, oh, like, well, is that the right thing to do? Is it the right investment? Like, or just like all these health things that like cost a lot, and like right now I'm like, like I put it off and I wait. It's like I'd just pull the trigger on everything. I'd just be like, fuck it, like yeah, like I'll try that shit. It's 10 grand, whatever. Like I would love to just throw money around a bit more like that, not like in a lavish way, but just in a way of like, oh, like this experience costs 50 grand and almost nobody can do it. Like I'm gonna like if I want to do it, I'm gonna do it. Or just flying first class for sure. Business wise, dude, I would take much different risks business wise. I think, like, right now I've been playing around with a lot of new ideas and like things that I want to start, because I just want to, I don't know if I've even told you or said this on the podcast, but for the last few weeks or months I've been thinking about how like I just want to kind of get back to like what I was doing 5+ years ago, which was just trying shit, just like having an idea and like, hitting up a supplier and just like fooling around. And like I kind of stopped doing so much of that. And so I want to do that, but at my current level, what that looks like is to have a great idea that I want to exist in the world, and to maybe get around starting it with like, call it like 10 to 20 grand, right? But if I was worth 100 million and I had an idea that I wanted to see in the world, I would just like, instead of setting aside 20 grand as my potential loss, maybe I'd set aside 1 million as my potential loss. And not like a loss, but just like what I'm risking, right? Like, which might look like, hiring engineers and a team and a CEO like right off the bat, and just like giving something a real shot, versus like staying super scrappy with everything.
Yeah.
And like kind of like timid to spend 10 or 20 or 50. Like I might move up that 10 or 20K to 500 or 100 or I almost said 1,000K.
Yeah.
500K or 1 million might be like my fuck around, risk it money compared to where I'm at right now. That'd be a big one I'd change.
Yeah, man. It's not easy to spend that kind of money, and even if you are starting something where you're hiring a CEO and engineers and this and that, well, it's like it's much harder to solve problems than it is to spend money. And what I mean by that is people will take your money. A CEO will be, I'm the CEO now, give me the money. But it's competitive to find CEOs, and the people that need CEOs are not the people that are like the people that actually know who the best CEOs are hiring them. So, and like engineers too, that's what I've learned trying to hire for Bitcoin.guide. Like it's not easy. So the way I see it, man, is like money comes, like money's going to come. It's inevitable that unless I like have a brain injury, like fingers crossed, like it's going to come. So what I'm realizing is that true wealth in terms of business and projects and this kind of stuff is being able to build my skills over time, because the skills are what actually allow you to have an impact on the world. And like, honestly, dude, like if you have the skills, then people will throw money at you to do it.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it. Like for taking some sort of moonshot, like totally, like you want to be attracting money instead. But I guess those aren't the types of things I'm thinking about at the moment. It's like more just ideas that are like shit I want to exist, and it's like might not be the biggest potential business on my list, but it's just something that I want to exist. Like I'll say one idea is like the further I go down like the health and natural rabbit hole, you kind of like realize your blind spots. And one of those blind spots for me is like clothing is, dude, like 90% of clothes are made of plastic now. And I'm just like, fuck that. Like, that's so lame. Like, it's rare to even find like a cotton shirt, let alone like interesting materials or like organic certified. And like, this is just something that like I would just love to do, is like do like just basically make the clothes that I wish existed. And this is something I'm like potentially working on just as like a fun little side project. Without having like the craziest financial ambitions for it, but like if I had tons of money to throw at it, I would just be like, I don't know, I would just like figure out who had a bunch of expertise in this and be like, you are going to like consult me through this, and like, hire somebody that like already did something similar for a similar business.
Man, I feel like the thing is that you actually could already do that, and not to sound super cliche, but like if you really work on something that you find to be a really exciting project, it's gonna happen. It's like it's what's limiting you is not the money, but it's just the time and the bandwidth. And if you're able to use
Right,
money to free that stuff up,
but
maybe
money
we're saying the
buys
same thing.
some time because
Yeah.
like for example, like I have more projects that I want to exist than I can do.
Yeah,
And that's
same.
why I think like getting to a point where you can definitely throw money at some of these problems because like, obviously I'm not saying building a great team is easy. That would become the thing that I had to work on would
Right.
be being the person that builds. That would be the skill set that I would need to learn that money can't necessarily buy. But I guess I just think I could learn that skill set enough to where I could find people at least at the level that I'm thinking, maybe not the best person in the entire world or whatever, but somebody that would be competent to help build a organic clothing brand or whatever. Doesn't seem like the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's maybe I'm speaking out of my own frustration because I've been like, this Bitcoin.guide, it's like such a compelling project and I need more engineers and I just like feel like I haven't quite had the time. And I mean, I've hired 2 engineers so far, but I want to hire more. But
if money was
yeah.
no object, like wouldn't you just like hire like a headhunter who can like poach people from like Snapchat or some shit? Like wouldn't you just like do it at a higher, like that's what
Matt, tell me
startups
how
are
to do
doing that are
that.
funded. I mean, I
Wait,
don't know, like Google like startup headhunter or some shit. Like I'm pretty sure there's like services and you just have to spend a lot. Like you might have to spend like 50 or 100 grand on like getting the right hire, and then that hire is going to be like, you know, well into the 6 figures or whatever, but like I'm sure they're out there. Or you'd have to
yeah,
trade
you're right.
equity or something. Like it's obviously possible. Like dude, if you found like some
Yeah.
engineer from some really high end place and was like, dude, I'll give you like this salary plus these vesting shares, whatever. I mean, that's what startups do all day long, right?
Yeah, man. I think honestly, I'm going in with this like I'm pretty sure I know what's gonna happen with crypto, so I'm leveraging up this business project and like I would hire someone today who was of that quality, like whatever the not whatever the salary is, but like I'd be pretty liberal with it. So I like. By the way, I'll ask you off the podcast, but like just to plant the seed, if you know anyone who you think would be like a really good coder and stuff, like always open for introductions.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it
Yeah.
personally, but like, dude, I feel like even Twitter would be a great place for you to find potential connections in this. Like, there's so many smart
Yeah.
crypto. Like, there's gotta be like, not to say that it's easy to find. Like, I agree with you. Like, I wouldn't exactly know what to do in your situation either, but I know for a fact that there's definitely like hundreds of people in the U.S. alone that are like incredible coders working at companies you've heard of that are like on crypto Twitter all night. You know, like there's people that would be so bought in to this. You just have to find those people. And you know, that might come down to like spending a lot just on like the right recruiter or whatever. Like, dude, companies spend so much on recruiting because it is a hard problem.
Yeah. And you know what might
Recruiters
happen?
make a
Like,
shitload. I never knew that.
yeah. Oh yeah. I think the reason I'm maybe delaying now is just because we're so close to launching at least Bitcoin.guide that the connections that I make through putting that out there might lead
Yes.
to something.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is part of why having like a personal audience is important, right?
Oh yeah.
Because eventually stuff like this will just come to you. That's why I push myself to get back on YouTube and things that are not like that natural for me necessarily, or podcast or whatever, just making content. Like, it is a struggle, but it's a worthy struggle because what you're trying to do is be a magnet for people like you. And that requires putting yourself out there, even though it might not be like the most fun thing in the world necessarily, but it's like, you know, it's work. It's like, that's the exercise. So, you know,
I like
if you
that.
like, for example, if you as Sam Feldman had like 50K Twitter followers around crypto,
Yeah.
like, dude, you could just be like, yo, I need a coder for Bitcoin.guide.
Yeah.
Like you'd get like hundred, like
I think it'll happen.
somebody would know somebody.
Yeah, man. I think like Twitter's an example of where that might happen, and I think that like I already have planted a lot of these seeds over the past few years, and it's easy to get impatient, but it's gonna happen. It's happening. I'm launching this software, like gonna run ads. Like it's easy to get impatient when I've been building for so long, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I just want this thing to see the light of day, but it will. So
Yeah, I think it's the right move though to get something out there, like the just launching like that page versus like everything. It's a great move because I mean, from my perspective, like I mean, it's just taking a long time. Like I think you would feel so good, like shifting from building this in silence to building this as the founder of Bitcoin.guide that's already a thing that is improving and growing and expanding instead of just like, oh, I'm working on this thing that doesn't exist yet. You'll just feel a lot, and you'll get feedback too, and that's going to fuel you, and people are going to give you ideas. And
it's getting to the point where that argument makes more and more and more sense every single day. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
It's going to be crazy.
It is, and then that's going to sell for $400 million, and then you're going to buy random altcoins at 10x leverage, and then you're going to have all the money.
Damn. Next thing you know, I passed Warren fucking Buffett on the richest people in the world. What up now, Warren?
Dude, seriously though, like isn't that gonna happen for some people? Like if Bitcoin really goes to 1 million, like there's gonna be like a new generation of the richest people in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like it's inevitable.
Like if Bitcoin went to 1 million, then it's very rare to have an event where one currency just like has an influx of value. It's like we've never really seen anything like Bitcoin happen before. I don't know about gold. I think it took that a while to gain value, many, many, many years, maybe even thousands, whereas Bitcoin, due to the internet and the spread of information, could become a really strong currency very quickly. And what happens if you have a strong thing with a limited supply is that's what happens. It could happen.
I think it will.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Believe in it. And I think it's important that we, like have these conversations and like tell our friends and all that, because there is still like such like a stigma. Like it's so weird how like some people still just think it's like this weird thing. And I'm like, dude, you're not paying attention.
They're not paying attention. And it's scary. It's a scary thing. I mean, even for us, there's a certain discomfort with Bitcoin, and I'm real happy that we got past that. But people have like jobs. People are looking the other way, and it's very, very easy to ignore it. And like, oh my god, like I have heard 8,000 times. Like I wish I bought Bitcoin. It was at 8K. The top I would pay is 12K for it. Like 12K is my max number for what it's worth.
But I didn't.
So I'm just like, bro, like you don't know what it's worth. Like what the fuck? Like, and even like last night I was talking with a friend. He was like, like I wanted to put 10K more in at 20K, but now it's at 23K. Like I think I'm gonna wait for a dip. I'm just like, bro, you can wait for a dip if you want, but just realize that the reason that you want to wait for a dip is similar to the reason that when you're in like El Salvador negotiating for like a little like toy that you're gonna go and like hang on a Christmas tree or something, and they're like, we want $3 for it. And you're like, the most I can give you is $2.25, and you're talking in their local currency. It's like you don't give a fuck about the 75 cents. You just like the game, and you want to feel like you're winning, and that's why people want to wait for a dip. It's just for the feeling of like I won. But you know what happens when there's a dip? Ooh, damn. I think I want to wait until it is kind of on the upswing again. I think this is feeling very unstable.
It's probably not the bottom.
Yeah. And then it starts to rise. They're like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll buy. Oh, but like it was just at 22K. Now it's at 24. I'm gonna wait. And then it goes from 24 back down to like 19. They're like, oh man, like it dropped below its all-time high again. Like maybe it was just a pump and dump. And then it goes back up to 26. They're like, oh my god, I'm so stupid. Like I should have bought. And it just it's fucking hilarious. Like everybody does this. And what I tell people is like, yo, you gotta don't underestimate that I've heard this story 3,000 times already. Like you're not unique in this story.
Yeah.
Everybody has it. Unless you're literally Satoshi Nakamoto, you have this story.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I have that story. I mean, I should have tens of thousands of Bitcoin for how early I like knew about it and thought it was interesting. Like I know so many people like that.
Goddamn. Yeah, dude.
But
I
we
even
didn't
like
do it,
I was
right?
like I bought I had like 15K to my name after graduating college, and I put 7,000 into Ethereum at $11 in Ethereum, and it's just like, fuck, like, we can't play this game of trying to. Even today, somebody posted. I hear it every day. Someone posted in the group like, "Oh, like if I had bought Bitcoin when you said, I would have made so much money." And you like, guess I missed the boat, and that was just the end of the message. I'm just like, what the fuck, like. Do you really think that you can go back and get the boat? Like the boat is still here. It's just a different boat. Like people learn the wrong lessons about stock investing just chronically. It's like, yo, like you got to realize that like you can't buy a good investment and have everybody around you say, "Oh yeah, that's a good investment." The whole thing of a good investment is that you're the first there, and it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Dude, I was talking about this though with a friend, and like it also plays in with just where we are in our journey in general, like what our age was, how much money we had to our name. Because like, dude, what if we had been in our situation that we are in now 10 years ago? Like we probably would have thrown 10K into that shit. Like, so which I'm not saying that it's as a pessimistic thing. It's actually like an exciting thing, because it's like, oh, like next time around, like I just feel much more aware now with my investments now that I've like missed it so many times. So now I feel more aware of like, oh, like when I'm feeling that feeling, like, yeah, try that, you know, like let that play out if you're really sure of it. Cause like, dude, like Tesla, like I kick myself for Tesla a lot because like I was super like a believer in it for so fucking long, and I would like let my dad get in my head. He'd be like, no, like they're gonna go out of business in 6 months guaranteed, like you're an idiot if you like invest anything in a Tesla, like they're a bullshit and I would just be like, I would never get around to like buying it. But like, you know, we need to be more aware, and like this time around we're in a position where we can put some money in. Like, dude, when I was buying, dude, I bought Litecoin in 2013. I had to like go to like the weird that like there was like a kiosk thing, like Western Union bullshit. You'd like put a money order and then your shit would show up in an account. I put in like, you know, hundreds of dollars or whatever. It was like all I could at the time. But like, dude, what if like imagine if you had been worth like a few million when you heard about that?
Yeah, man.
Like
I
when
think
you like, yeah. So we're in such an exciting position now moving forward for new things.
Dude, markets are a beautiful thing, I think, because what markets do is they transfer money, aka power, from people that are reacting emotionally without realizing it to people that are seeing clearly. The way you make money in markets is just by seeing clearly. And even with your dad, like when I hear that, it's kind of obvious to me. It's like, okay, like Matt's dad probably, I don't know, maybe he didn't like the way Elon Musk carries himself, and there's so much of people's identity in cars, and this guy is changing the way that cars are built, and also the way that they're marketed too, where Tesla is marketed in such a different way, and it's just like so new and different. And I've heard from so many people, they're like, my dad doesn't like Tesla. I'm just like, bro, your dad like is wrong.
Exactly.
Like,
and that's what I'm going to know next time around. Is like we keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening, and there's only like a subset of the world that's doing that. And like I think one of my biggest aspirations in a way is to be somebody that continues to have their finger on the pulse of what's going on, regardless of age or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be the old man being like, nah, Tesla's some bullshit. Like, it's just, yeah. So I see that as a positive, is like, oh, now I've like learned from that. Or like you and Shopify too. Like, dude, I think about Shopify because like I'm in e-commerce. Like, dude, 5 years ago, it's like, oh, what's the best like e-commerce platform? Like, not like Amazon as a platform, like
Yeah.
a, you know, for building your own store. It's like, well, freaking duh, Shopify.
Yeah.
But like, I never even thought about like, I just wasn't even in a position or having the knowledge or awareness to ever even think of like buying their stock ever. Like, it just wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
Even though like I would have like kind of known that. But like now I feel like, okay, when I like know something like that, I'm going to be much more present and aware to like actually put some resources into that feeling. Like how you felt with Zoom, and like you're just so sure and it's just so obvious and you know. And now that I've missed it as a positive, I feel more ready for it in the future.
Yeah, investing's fascinating.
It is, dude. I've been thinking a lot about it. Sometimes it can be like a distraction for me, even like versus just, you know, doing
Like,
working on the businesses or whatever.
It's like if you know how to predict the future better than everyone else in the world, then you're eventually going to be the richest person in the world.
Yeah, dude, it's an addicting gamble to. You're basically trying to predict the future.
Dude, I also think it's so. This is a little bit of fucked up. This is a little bit of a topic change, and I think that it's fucked up.
What are you about to say?
The U.S. has printed so much money, and it's all just gone to the stock market. Like, talk about downsides to the money printer. Like, the stock market has had a huge run up because the way that, you know, I could look more into this, but everybody could look more into this. I still know more than most people on this. Like, the way that money enters the economy is that, again, like, it's just created from thin air. It goes to the banks, who then make it available as a loan, and they like adjust different stuff so it actually gets like taken as a loan. And shit, dude, the people that know how to take loans from the bank are generally already rich. And what happens is, oh, you can take a loan now you don't need to sell your stocks. Now it gets pumped up even more. And I just think, like, I don't know, like, of all of the things, I think it's just like really messed up how there's, I mean, we could talk about this as well, but like there's so many poor people in the US compared to other countries that have our kind of financial means. And
Totally.
And those people are the ones that get affected the most by inflation because they are keeping US dollars. If you don't have that much money, you're not going to be able to invest it in stocks. And
dude, I feel you.
It's like it makes it impossible to save because you yeah, I don't know. It's just it makes me kind of sad to think about.
It is a massive problem. Like, that's a whole thing in itself to figure out someday is yeah. But on stocks, like, dude, I think stocks are kind of like how you were bothered by my trade on XRP, is because I think that's similar, because I kind of think all stocks are bullshit. Like, I think the idea of buying into companies is not bullshit, but I do think like the stock market is bullshit, but I'm still going to like kind of like have some money in stocks if I can, you know, like, but it is completely propped up and it's not a measure of the economy. And I think that's where people make a huge mistake, is they look at like the overall, you know, whatever, like S&P 500 or whatever, and they're like, oh, like market's up, things are good. It's like, no, like those are the top 500 companies. It's completely different than what's actually happening to people and to the country and to most businesses. Like, it's such a different bet than, and I learned this through another mistake. I learned this because I was holding puts in early March, and, you know, my account 4x'd. And I was like, this has to keep going down. And I was so right. You know, my account 3 to 4x'd because I didn't even put my whole account into puts. I just put I put like 20 to 25% into some puts, and that alone made my account 3 to 4x. So that means they were up like 1,000% or whatever. But I rode it so long because when it started to bounce, I was like, no, this has to go down. And the reason it never went down is because they printed a bunch of money, and because that is measuring the top 500 companies, not necessarily like I was kind of betting on like the well-being of the economy and not on the artificial pricing of the top 500 companies. And those are completely different things. And I think if I had realized that, I would have like ripped the cord as soon as I was like directionally correct, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
So yeah, no, I think the stocks are bullshit. I think it's so.
I mean, why are stocks
Dude,
bullshit? I mean,
just-
I understand why your puts didn't like went down in value, but why are stocks as a whole bullshit?
Well, it's bullshit because of what you described. It's like it's all just being bought on
like morally
leverage and loans and fake. Yeah, no, I'm not saying like the stock market is like not real or you can't make money in it. Like I'm still playing. I just think it's a game. It's like it's propped up. It's not really what it seems.
I mean, it's. I think that what you're getting at is just values. Like, what values do we have, and what's important to us?
Yeah.
I mean, is that
I'm
what
trying
you're
to put it into words better because I'm definitely not articulating it in the way that I mean. I just think it's. I don't know how to say it other than that I think it's propped up. Like, I think that the example I gave is the example that taught that to me because I felt like the market truly should have continued to go down, but it did not. Like, dude, like there's businesses where like everything was literally like closed and the stocks like there would be like bad news and the stock would go up. Like there was so much crazy shit going on, and it was all just sort of based on like the money printer problem.
What people say. I think this phrase is brilliant in how it illustrates that. It's privatized gains, socialized losses.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, when the market's going up, the shareholders get the value. And then when the market's going down, you use the money printer, which affects everybody to prop the market back up.
Exactly.
Which means that there's only a certain amount of the population wins when things go well, but then everybody shares the loss when things shit the bed.
Yeah, and then you mess up everyone's money just to make the stock numbers look good.
It's messed up.
Like that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened, right? It's like, what if we had just let this play out, like, in reality? Like, what if we had not fucked with it so much? You know?
Yeah.
Like, we fucked with it so much.
Oh, we didn't fuck with it.
Well, yeah, we didn't do anything.
I was just chilling.
People fucked with it. Like, the government fucked with it. Yeah, you're right. It's not we, it's they.
And the reason that it happened is because there's a system that allows power creation from the snap of the fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to wrap one's mind around, man. Like even me, like I've been good at math for my whole life. I've been really good at thinking about this stuff. And when I was like 7, I collected money from all around the world. Like, so I am an expert in money. But it's even really hard for me. It's hard for us. Like, I think we're generally like, we're generally following stuff, but it is really difficult. Like the monetary system is obscured, and that's by design. So yeah, man, shit's whack. And I've just a thought that's tangentially related. You know, I've heard that people tend to get more conservative politically as they get older, forgetting for a second of the crazy associations with conservative and liberal nowadays, but just kind of the base definitions of that, where conservative is more you take care of yourself and liberal is more we take care of each other. And I think that what I've realized as I've gotten older is that there's so much pain in the world, and like it's impossible to. I'm just one person. Like, it's like I wish I could fix it, but like the second that I feel other people's pain, that doesn't do them a service, because it causes me pain to feel people's pain. So then at a certain point, it's like, well, what do? Do you just cut off from that, or what do you do? And it's like, so I heard once the difference between compassion and empathy, where empathy means to actually feel someone's pain, where compassion means to, I forget how it goes, but it's like compassion is to like be aware and understand it without actually feeling that pain yourself. Because if you feel that pain, then, oh, now you're in pain. Now we just increase the pain in the world. So it's like, we don't owe it to anyone to feel their pain. And I just think like with all of this stuff, man, like my philosophy is that I want to take care of myself and get my mental health straight and, you know, try and offer the best value that I can. And like, yeah, man, I don't know. Like it's, I'm not sure if I just went like into fucking like outer space left field, but that's what I was thinking.
No, I love that. Like I feel that. I actually think that was an amazing point, and you're right. Like, you know, the best you can do is do the best for yourself and let that resonate out.
And to do that with a realization that, like, despite what maybe everybody in the 1900th century thought, we're not just out in this world for our own egotistical gain. And like, certainly we all have egos, and I'm not going to be one of these spiritual community people that have lost their ego, because, you know, they're everywhere. But we have that, and you've got to satisfy the ego, especially growing up in the fucking US. Like, you cannot, like, you're almost conditioned to have a bit of an unhealthy ego, I would say. And
yeah,
I think that just like, okay, realizing that in the end, we're all connected. Like, I want people. That's why I think the US is so crazy. It's like, you go to these countries in Europe and like, they're taking care of people because they realize what's obvious, that if you go to buy a coffee, or, oh, if your internet breaks and you need somebody to come fix the wires, like, you want that person to be able to feed their family. Like, you want the people in the world to be able to have enough resources. Like, the world has enough resources in it to feed everyone, to get everyone. It's like, at this point, it's just a matter of logistics and how do we allocate that. And people are fucking so stupid about this shit. Like, people make it. I'm fucking canceled. Fuck.
I did it on a YouTube live once. I said that.
Yeah.
Nobody cared.
People are so retarded about the way that they think of this. Goddamn. About the way they think of this. They say, okay, so what you're saying, Sam, is that either we have to have pure communism and have everybody have the same exact assets and live in the same exact house with the same exact white walls on the outside and inside, or we have to have pure capitalism where there's no laws and no rules and you're allowed to just go out and do whatever you want as long as it'll get you money. It's like, motherfucker, like, let's find some gray area.
Yeah,
like, it's clearly a mix.
People
just think such black and white, and it's so frustrating to me, especially like going on my Instagram and people define themselves so much by what they're against. It's like, oh, well, you're anti-capitalism. Well, what are you for?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't even get into that too much, like capitalism versus socialism. Like, I feel like I lean capitalism a lot, but I also completely think like, yeah, of course we should just have like basic fucking things, like even if it's not like everyone having like a nice apartment or some shit, like it should at least be like some basics, like health. Like I definitely think like health insurance is just such an obvious
what if your parents growing up were like, yeah, like you gotta like do your chores, you gotta like take the trash out and like clean the floor, and like if you do that, great. If you don't do that, then like we have the key pass to the lock on the fridge, so like you will go hungry. Yeah. I think where it gets complicated is that there's no way, like the population does like growing. So it's like at a certain point, like you like at a certain point it's like there is people are like, oh, scarcity mindset, abundance mindset, but like maybe there is like a certain amount of scarcity. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. It's like, how do we divide these resources? But like, dude, I don't know. Like, even like, I guess what I was getting at to make it more clear is like, well, what if everybody has 10 kids each and doesn't have the means to take care of them, and then it's all this and that. It's like, I don't know. Like, maybe we'll like cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Like, this clearly isn't the most ideal way for like 8 billion people to live, but
yeah,
I mean, dude, that was one of the first statistics that ever blew my mind. I don't have the numbers, but like, have you ever just looked at like a graph over time of like the world population?
Oh, it looks like the Bitcoin graph.
Yeah, it looks like the Bitcoin graph, and I feel like that is a stat that would shock a lot.
Oh yeah,
people.
even like
I don't.
People will be like,
it's
oh,
not obvious.
Yeah, people are like, oh, like if there's 8 billion people now, how many people was there like 50 years ago? People would be like, oh, maybe there was like 7 billion, but I think it's something like 2 billion or 3 billion.
Dude, no, I remember the stat. I'm pretty sure like I remember doing the rough thing. I could try to pull it up, but I remember it was like something like when my parents were born, it was like 1 billion.
Actually, I'll share my screen so that we're both looking at the same.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think? Population, world population over time.
Yeah. Dude, I like wrote a paper on this once. Like it absolutely blew me away because I just knew people didn't quite realize this. And not that we shouldn't have people. I'm not saying we should go back or whatever. But I'm saying
Matt, are you calling for the banning of people?
But what I'm saying is that like, look, guys, like this is causing some okay, you were right. Yeah, it's more in like the two. So yeah, it was
right
like
now there's
go to like 19.
Well, let's just say now there's 7.8 billion people.
Yes, and let's say like 1950. I'm curious.
1950. They actually cut it off at 1951.
Okay, 1951, 2.5 billion. So 2.5 to 7.8. And that's in 1951. That's when my dad was born. So it's literally gone up by like more than 3x in his lifetime. I mean, of course that's going to break almost everything, dude. Like people are not realizing how crazy all of this is. Like I swear people are just like born into this reality and they're like, "Oh, well, I need a cell phone and I need a job and I need a car." It's like, dude, like this has not been like this very long at all.
A lot of people have entered the simulation recently, okay?
Yeah. There's clearly like an infinite people glitch going on right now.
It's like, did they check this before shipping the code? God?
Yeah, like I don't think the solution is to go back to 2.5 billion, but I think that it does cause a lot of the problems that we deal with, right? Like we have a fuckload of people, dude.
Yeah, it's like we're wild. The resources are getting more abundant, but the people are also getting more abundant, and yeah, people are like, I don't know, like it's just a hard challenge. Like we're all kind of like dancing on shaky ground and trying to figure this thing out. Another really interesting, just to throw it in, stat is in 1951, the urban population was 30%, whereas now it's 56%. So it's almost doubled the amount of people living in cities.
Well, that's the only way to do it, right? I mean, I don't think there'd be enough, like, people used to live way more spread out.
I don't think so.
I
think
cities
that if people had the knowledge of how to live off the land, they could do it.
What do you mean?
Like, you could, like, we don't need everybody to live in cities. It's just if people were born into cultures that taught them how to be self-reliant and not need things.
Yeah, I guess, but I feel like that wouldn't have been as conducive to like the population skyrocketing. Like I feel like cities have like all the resources in one place. You don't have to spend a bunch of time like, you know, milking cows or whatever.
I'm just saying, like, it's possible, like, as long as, like, if we had more, like, if the culture was more decentralized and there was people here, like,
possible.
if people, in the end, like, if people take care of themselves, then like I don't know, like, you figure stuff out. Like the population of the people might explode, but the population of like the sweet potatoes might explode too at the same time, and like they just eat the sweet potatoes.
What if you just did like the acreage of the United States divided by the number of people in the United States?
Well, that's
like
density,
how much space?
I think, on this chart.
Oh, right. So that's people for square kilometer.
Yeah.
So it's 50. I mean, you could spread out 50 people in a square kilometer pretty good, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
and now in 51 it was 17. So like, yeah, in a square kilometer,
Right.
if there's only 52 people, like we still have a lot of room to grow. And if you've ever driven through like Nevada, that point is pretty obvious.
Yeah. No, I get you. So I think about this in terms of like logistics of food and health and the environment and stuff, you know, like I'm a lot of people think that means that I must be like vegan or something. It's actually quite the opposite. I think that like one of the key things we can do is like regenerative agriculture, you know, like get these biodiverse communities where the, you know, the sun is powering the grass that the cows eat and the cows shit, and that goes into the plants that makes them the land fertile that allows the trees to grow fruit or whatever. Like it has to be like a whole web, because right now we're just like depleting soils and all this crazy stuff. But that, like, I see that as a way that could be one of the most harmonious ways that humanity could live. But
Yeah.
even having that view, when I see that the population is 8 billion, I'm like, dude, can we all eat biodynamic grass-fed beef? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Like, it's a weird problem because, yeah, we've gone exponential on population versus certain resources. So.
Yeah, it's like this game of like, it's like, okay, like there's 3 people over there in that corner that need to be fed. It's like, all right, like I'm gonna make up some pancakes and then take it to them. Sorry, Matt, for eating pancakes. And we feed them, and then, oh fuck, by the time they're done eating, oh, now there's 4 people over there. It's like, all right, like I gotta make the pancakes a little bit faster this time. And you feed the 4 people, and then all right, now by the time they're done, there's 10 people in the other corner, and it's just like, I don't know if that example checks out or not, but
I get it, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. For me, it's easy to think of when I just think back to like simple, like food that grows from the earth. You know, it's like you need space, you need animals, you need plants, you need land, right? And like, if every single person, like, yeah, if you had 50 people in a square kilometer, I can't really do that math in my head, but like, how much space would that give each person? And is that enough space to be like self-sufficient? Would be really interesting.
I don't know, man. I think,
but dude, I think about that shit, like living more rural. Like, I think at some point I don't want to live. I feel like I only want to go more and more and more rural. Not that I'm living in a rural place right now, but it's arguably closer to rural than my last place was, for example.
would you want to be like, I mean, here's the thing, like, would you want to be rural like outside of a city, or rural like in deadbeat nowhere?
For the time being, I want to be near a city. And I want to be, well, no, actually, more importantly, I want to be near groups of friends and interesting people. And I think that this is a possibility. Like, dude, like really high on my list is Hawaii. Hawaii doesn't have, like, the biggest con to Hawaii, I think, for me, would be like the social environment. I'd be going there with absolutely nobody. But hypothetically, if I could get my 10 best friends to all move within 3 miles of me in Hawaii or whatever, like, it would probably be the best place to live anywhere. Like, so I do think about stuff like that, but so it doesn't have to be a city, but I do fear being like too isolated, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say. And there might even be, we talk about like, well, of course money got disrupted by technology. Maybe cities will too, and maybe there's going to be new
people
cities.
Working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of people working on this, like literally creating new cities. Like, I think I even like joked about it to you, or like half joked. It's like, dude, if Joe Rogan, Tim
Oh yeah.
Ferriss, Aubrey Marcus, and like called it like 20 other like influencer type
Duncan
people
Trussell.
were all like, yeah, like they were all like, you know what, fuck this, we're out, we're gonna make the next Austin, and we're gonna make it an hour south of Tulum, and it's going to be a new thing. There's nothing there right now. It's completely undeveloped, and we're just going to make a new civilization. I feel like it would honestly probably play out. Like, it would probably work.
It'd be interesting, man. I don't know.
It's not impossible.
You definitely need a more diverse skill set than just podcaster and comedian.
No, for sure. I'm not saying they would run the place. I'm
Right.
saying they
would be the marketing
inspire
engine.
the place. Yeah, they would get like, dude, it would be obviously a massive group effort.
Like, Aubrey, the
I don't-
pipes have broke again. It's the 5th time in the last month, Aubrey. Like, God damn it, I'll
like,
send
they wouldn't
Duncan
even-
down to fix that.
They would just I would love Duncan to be the lead plumber.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious, dude. But yeah, like, I do think there's obviously a shift happening away from cities. I think that will continue, at least for me. Like, I will never, like, dude, the odds that I live in like a high rise like city place and like the rest of my life are like essentially lower than Bitcoin going to zero.
Dude, what if we get Bitcoin rich, should we just buy a fucking dope mansion in Austin on the land?
Dude, yeah, like, dude, I want to, like, I would set up communities, like, get everything, dude. Like, this was super cool for Jessica's birthday. We have a friend of ours, like, owns this amazing business. I'm gonna have him on for like an interview. Coolest business ever. It's called Paca, Paka. They make clothing from alpacas in Peru.
Okay.
And they were on tour with their alpacas, and they happened to be like getting back to San Diego. He lives in San Diego, but like he happened to be getting back to San Diego with the alpacas like right around Jessica's birthday. So we had like alpacas here, like at our house, and it was so cool. Like one of the highlights of like the year. Like, it was awesome. But like, yeah, they were like, but then we were like talking to them, like the people like managing the alpacas, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, like they're super easy. Like, they're easier than like a dog or a cat because they just eat grass. They don't need anything.
Huh.
Like, they're just there. And I'm like, dude, I would so, like, if I had a little more space, like, why not have some alpacas or whatever other animals? Like, it would just be awesome.
I feel like that guy's underselling it a bit, man. Like,
Well,
he didn't
what do you
even
mean, like,
mention the
understand
poop,
it?
which has to be a thing, which makes me not trust him.
I'm not. You don't keep them in the house, dude. Like,
Okay.
they're out on land. They poop on their.
Dude, I'm gonna be
like,
having a
here's-
catch with a football, and I'm gonna dive into some poop.
No,
what you're
dude,
telling-
you have
okay,
acres,
fine. There'd be
and
a
you have
separate field for
alpacas
football.
running around, and like this is how biodynamic farming works, right? It's
Yeah.
like literally you have like apple trees with like shrubs underneath them, and the shrubs attract bugs, and then your chickens go and eat the bugs, and then the chickens poop, and that fertilizes the apple trees, and like that's how ecosystems work.
yeah,
like,
dude.
The poop,
Oh my
the poop
God.
is not the poop is not waste, dude. The poop is literally like the energy that powers the food. But
Yeah, dude.
instead, right now, what happened is that, like, instead we just have GMO glyphosate wheat growing in the same soil over and over and over, and there's nothing in that soil because there's no animals on that soil.
Dude, I'm waiting for the micro strategy of my friends moving to Austin that will just kickstart this domino effect.
Should we go down the Austin rabbit hole?
Yeah,
with
maybe
our
we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't,
remaining
man. I
time?
respect. I think that you're living in a dope spot, and
Like,
yeah.
dude, if Austin just was physically California, I'd be there.
I feel that, man. I've talked to so many people who are like very, very considering it. So I think that if I had to play the situation out, I think in like between 1 and 3 years. I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows? Like, maybe
Look,
it will.
if I had
maybe it won't happen.
the infinite money glitch, I would buy my main residence in Austin. I would be there for 183 days out of the year, and I would travel for a couple months and have another spot out here or whatever else.
Would you do that? Because I think you can do
time.
that today, man. I think you can do that with what's gonna happen with crypto probably.
Oh yeah, well if it happens, that's what I'm saying. Like, could I do it today? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it'd be a stretch. Like, I like my current burn. My current lifestyle burn is like under control.
You guys got the setup.
Like, yeah. But yeah, so if I had a bunch of money, I would just buy this house, be like, all right, I don't have to worry about that going away. And yeah, I'd probably get like another spot or whatever. If I made that much money, it'd probably make sense to have my primary in Austin for tax. But dude, like I value the sun so much. I mean, the sun is like, dude, people have worshipped the sun for thousands and thousands of years. And like, I just like, I fucking love the
Dude,
sun.
I get more sun in Austin than I did in LA.
But here's the thing that I've realized is it's not about I'm not afraid of heat. I like heat. What matters to me is clear days per year.
I still think I get way more of those in Austin than I did in LA. Dude,
pull up those stats. I looked
here. You want to see those stats? Tilting my.
I mean, you guys get more rain and. Yeah, I can see.
Dude, Matt, you're right also now, like underestimating. Man, you're like a kid who's saying, I just want to have cookies for every meal for the rest of my life. Dude, like, I'm telling you, man, it's sunny like it's sunny like 85% of days, and then sometimes when it rains, dude, I swear it cleans the air and you breathe better.
I know what you mean. You're right. I know what you mean. I just love the sun so fucking much, and I'm hesitant to move anywhere that gets even 1% less sunny days.
Oh my god! You know what? Don't move to
San Diego is number
just
one.
Stay in.
San Diego's number one in the country. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. You know what? Just stay there.
I just like value my time spent outside in the sun. Like, it's almost like a measure of how successful my day was, like how much I was just sitting outside in the sun. And like, you kind of need like,
all right, I'm gonna get Bitcoin rich. You can come visit for like a month and we'll see what happens.
I love, dude, Austin's, it's like one of my favorite places, but I just love the beach and the sun.
No, you're not invited
every single day. I don't need to be invited.
Okay, fair.
Dude, like, it's just one of the most important like factors is like how it affects how I feel so much. Like so much. Like, dude, even here, like 2 days ago, there was a cloudy day and like I felt it, It's just I love starting my day out. I literally like sit on the grass in the sun, like as much exposed as possible, meditate in the sun. Like that is like
that's nice.
The highlight of my day, like in a way. It sets me so right.
One thing that I really want here is a place that has more easy access to outdoors, just because I'm in a cool spot, but it's like there's not that much just like open grass where I can just go lounge around. So I'm gonna do that, man. I think like if what I think is gonna happens in the next few months, then like maybe I'll just like buy a house out here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, dude, for sure.
Yeah, my plan for maybe a bit of a topic change, but my plan for 2021, you asked what I would spend the money on. I'm planning to travel a lot, and to one of the luxuries is being able to travel and not plan it beforehand, because I'm not worried about getting a last minute plane or train or whatever ticket. So that's what I want to do. I'm planning to like, I think in February, in January I'll be down at in Costa Rica for the retreat, and then in February I want to bounce up to Denver for like a week, go snowboarding this winter, and
nice.
Dude, in like March, April, we don't have to get into this, but if the COVID vaccine is available, I think I think I'm gonna prick myself with it, and then I want to bounce over. Like, I think I'll fly to Europe and just like work remote, and just like I get so excited about just being It's not, I guess, on
I'll
the
be
road.
buying the I'll be buying the black market certification.
Yeah. Once I become like radioactive and like on like there's like foam, like purple foam coming out of my mouth, I'll just be like, all right, man, just like you can have my assets.
I'll refer back to this recording.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wise.
It's in your will. Matt gets all your Bitcoin.
Yeah. I would honestly trust you if you got it. I would trust you to like divvy it up among people in a fair way.
Damn. Dude, I talked
Maybe,
about this
maybe not.
idea
I don't
recently. No, I threw this idea out there to some people I was with the other day. I was like, dude, there needs to be like, maybe somebody's already doing this, but wills for crypto would be such a space, dude. Like,
Oh, yeah.
dude, if somebody dies with crypto right now, like that shit's like the chances that shit goes anywhere. Like, dude, if I died right now, like, could Jessica even like get it? Like, I don't even know. Like, it would be so. I mean, she probably.
It'll probably be like a
Yeah, like,
smart.
I don't know.
Yeah, it would probably be a
There
smart
needs to
contract too. Yeah, they'll figure it out. You know, it gets
Or like kind of like how there are like, what is it, like trust funds and like
yeah.
things like that. Like that has to that should totally exist in this space.
Yeah, dude. You know
for
what's
the future.
I've been thinking about this a bit, and I think that what might become popular is a will that's not just a lump sum payment, but a will that's a smart contract that says, okay, say a rich person dies, instead of you all getting 10 million right now, it's you guys get 30,000 for the next, I don't know how many years.
That's what a trust fund is.
Oh, shit. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
like so a trust fund will like invest the money and just pay you out like for 100 years or forever, maybe. I mean, maybe above.
Goddamn.
That reminds me of another related idea I had just randomly threw out. I was like, dude, what if there was like a charity that you could donate to right now that would, and obviously you'd have to make sure this is all like officially documented or whatever. Like, but what if you could donate to a charity right now and you could know that that charity was actually just going to lock up the money in crypto for the next 10 years and then deploy it? Wouldn't that be really interesting?
I don't know, man. Like, what are they going to do between now and then, though?
They would be like investing it wisely or whatever. Because, like, I mean, think about how much they could compound that money for future good versus just like.
Dude,
like,
what if we did just let's just do 100 years instead? Then we would really have a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a
Even 1,000
idea,
maybe.
But like, yeah, totally. But dude, even then, like, what if it could just be paying out the profits or something and just pay out forever? It's like an infinite charity, and you know, it's like a trust fund for the world. You could like start your own government.
I mean, you could just do that with your money, and then when you make money, you can just like give it to charities. Like that's what people do. They invest in the stock market.
But
I don't
want
want
to give
like
money to charity.
Like, you can't just trust a charity to invest your money. They specialize in helping people, not investing money.
No, right, but like this could be a new type of thing. It's a half-baked idea, but like what if there was like a fusion like financial and charity company? Like it would like say in the crypto space, like what if they documented exactly what the plan was for the next like 5 years of like how the money would be allocated and then exactly how it would be like deployed after that.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting because yeah.
So what this reminds me of
idea,
is it's I think what's going to get really, really common is multi-sig wallets, where right now with money, it's kind of like, all right, either it's your monies or it's the company's, but generally there's not that many in-betweens of ownership for money. But for example, me and you could have a multi-sig wallet where we both have to approve a transaction. Or me, you, and I don't know, Armand could have a 2 out of 3 sig wallet where like we all have shared ownership of this money, and then when it gets 2 signatures, then it's just spent. Or a group of 100 people, the any kind of group can have like a 70 out of 100 multi-sig wallet. So like money moves when 70 people agree. And I think that what's going to happen with that is we're going to be able to like set up funds that are for groups of people as opposed to just for one person.
I like that. Damn. I haven't heard much about that, but it reminds me of another idea I had before, which we don't have to go down on another random tangent, but I like that. What was it called? A multi-sig? Like it's just
multi-sig wallet. This is
wallet
already actually built into the Bitcoin protocol. You can just create a multi-sig wallet where me and you could have joint ownership. You can make it like a 2 out of 2 signature. So if we both approve it, then the money moves. And like you can imagine, like, what if you had like a 50,000 of 100,000 multi-sig wallet? Then we're really doing some shit.
I think all the money that this podcast makes should go into a 2-sig wallet.
Oh my god, dude. All right, so we're gonna have like a couple bits.
Dude, we're gonna have negative probably actually.
Yeah, because we pay Libsyn every month, and just the opportunity cost of taking like 2 hours to do this.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel? How long have we been going?
That's a good spot to. Yeah. Just about 2 hours.
Perfect.
1:56. I think that's a good. I think we should wrap it. Leave a little meat on the bone. Do it again in a few weeks.
Yeah, man. Let's leave some meat on the bone.
Exactly.
All right.
Bitcoin price is currently 23,878 on December 19th. Yeah, the Bitcoin episode.
Yeah, it'll maybe I feel like it'll just like bounce back down to like 12K for the next like 2 or 8 years. We'll see what happens.
2 or 8 years. Yeah, dude. This is wild.
All right, good stuff.
Insane.
All right,
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Oh yeah, Facebook group. Anyone who listens this far, you definitely should hang out with us.
Yeah.
It's a Facebook group that not much is currently happening there, but the idea is just that it could be a cool community to continue conversations that we're having on the podcast. Obviously, anyone that would get that far and do that would be somebody that is very much on our wavelength. So I think over time it could be a cool little tight-knit group. So if that speaks to you, find the group.
Facebook.com/groups/thoughts from Space Rock.
Yep, or just type in Thoughts from Space Rock if you can't find it. But thanks for listening, and peace.
Thank you, guys. Bye.